The breaking point. The stars stretched endlessly through the observation deck's viewport as Dr. Maya Chen adjusted her translator device. After 15 years of painstaking research, her universal language algorithm was finally ready for its most significant test: first contact with the Thalessian Dominion, one of the oldest civilizations in the known galaxy. Nervous? Dr. Elias Reed asked, joining her by the viewport. His lanky frame cast a long shadow across the polished floor of the diplomatic vessel Concordia. Maya smiled at her colleague and closest friend. Terrified might be more accurate. The Thalessians have rejected every other species' translation technology for the past 3 centuries. That's because they haven't seen yours, Elias replied, his confidence unwavering. Your algorithm adapts to linguistic patterns in real time. It's revolutionary. Captain Sarah Vaughn's voice came over the intercom. Attention all diplomatic personnel. Thalessian vessel approaching. First contact team to the conference chamber in 15 minutes. Maya tucked the small, pearl-shaped device into her pocket. It contained her life's work, a translation algorithm that could process and adapt to any language in the galaxy, even without prior linguistic samples. Unlike the clunky translators used by other species that required extensive pre-programming, Maya's creation learned and evolved with each interaction. The Concordia was humanity's pride, a sleek diplomatic vessel with a crew of 48 scientists, diplomats, and a small security detail. Though humanity had only achieved faster-than-light travel 30 years ago, they had rapidly expanded their presence, establishing colonies on 7 worlds, and making contact with 15 alien civilizations. The Thalessian Dominion, however, had remained elusive until now. In the conference chamber, Maya stood with Elias, Captain Vaughn, Ambassador Liu, and Lieutenant Commander Jackson. The chamber doors slid open to reveal their guests. The Thalessians entered with fluid grace. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, their obsidian skin reflected the light like polished stone. Each had 4 arms and elongated features, with eyes that shifted color as they moved. They wore intricate robes adorned with symbols that seemed to change and flow. I am High Emissary Kreltav of the Thalessian Dominion, the leader announced through a mechanical translator at his throat. We have agreed to this meeting out of curiosity about the newest spacefaring species. Ambassador Liu stepped forward. We are honored by your presence, High Emissary. I am Ambassador Mai Liu of Earth's Diplomatic Corps. We hope this meeting will be the beginning of peaceful relations between our peoples. The Thalessian's eyes shifted to a deep purple. We shall see. The young races often promise peace while harboring ambition. Maya activated her translator, and it hummed softly as it began analyzing the subtle harmonics and subvocalizations that the Thalessian translator was missing. She noted how the High Emissary's true speech contained layers of meaning that weren't coming through. With your permission, Maya said, stepping forward, I would like to offer an alternative translation method that might better capture the nuances of your language. Kroltav's eyes flashed with interest. You believe your technology surpasses ours. Not superior, Maya clarified, just different. Our approach to translation focuses on adaptive algorithms rather than pre-programmed responses. The Thalessian conferred briefly with his companions, their voices creating a melodic hum that Maya's device immediately began decoding. We will allow this demonstration, Kreltav finally said. Maya placed her device on the conference table. It projected a holographic interface that displayed the layered speech patterns of the Thalessians in real time. Please speak freely, she invited. The algorithm will adapt as you continue. What followed was remarkable. As Kreltav spoke, Maya's translator began rendering not just his words, but the emotional and cultural contexts behind them. The Thalessians were visibly surprised. This is unexpected, Kreltav admitted. Your device is capturing subharmonics that most species cannot even detect. For 3 days, the negotiations proceeded smoothly. Maya's translator facilitated deeper understanding between the humans and Thalessians. They discussed trade possibilities, cultural exchange, and shared scientific interests. The Thylesians seemed particularly interested in Maya's algorithm. On the fourth day, everything changed. "We wish to examine your translation technology more closely," Kreltav announced during the morning session. Ambassador Liu smiled diplomatically. "We're certainly open to technological exchange. But Dr. Chen's algorithm is proprietary Earth technology. Perhaps we could discuss licensing agreements." Kreltav's eyes darkened to a deep red. "You misunderstand. The Thylesian Dominion claims authority over all advanced communication technologies in this sector. Your device must be surrendered for evaluation." The atmosphere in the room instantly tensed. "That wasn't part of our discussion," Captain Vaughn said firmly. "Dr. Chen's work is protected under both Earth law and the Galactic Assembly's intellectual property protocols. Protocols that the Dominion has never recognized," one of the other Thylesians replied coldly. Maya instinctively reached for her device, but Kreltav moved with astonishing speed. Two of his forearms extended, seizing the translator before she could react. "This is unacceptable," Ambassador Liu protested. "We came in peace to establish diplomatic relations, not to have our technology confiscated." Elias stepped forward. "High Emissary, please return Dr. Chen's device. It represents years of research and—" He never finished his sentence. Without warning, Kreltav drew a crystalline weapon and fired. A pulse of energy struck Elias squarely in the chest. He collapsed, his eyes wide with shock, as his life ebbed away in seconds. Dr. Reed was attempting to interfere with Dominion authority, Kreltav stated calmly, as though he hadn't just murdered a man in cold blood. "Under Thylesian law, this is a capital offense." The human security detail immediately drew their weapons, but they were outnumbered. Lieutenant Commander Jackson placed himself between the Thylesians and the rest of the human delegation. "This is an act of war," Captain Vaughn said, her voice shaking with rage. Kreltav made a sound that might have been laughter. "War? Your species has barely left its home system. The Thylesian Dominion spans 300 worlds. We have been traveling the stars while your ancestors were still discovering fire." Maya knelt beside Elias, desperately checking for a pulse, but finding none. Her hands trembled as she closed his eyes. "This was murder," she said, looking up at Kreltav. He was unarmed. He made no threatening move. "Your definitions are irrelevant," the High Emissary replied. "By Dominion law, we have acted with full authority. One human life means nothing in the grand scheme of the galaxy." What happened next occurred with military precision. Lieutenant Commander Jackson triggered an emergency protocol that Maya hadn't known existed. A field of energy suddenly surrounded the human delegation. Before the Thylesians could react, the humans were transported back to the Concordia. "Emergency departure protocol engaged," the ship's AI announced. "Preparing for immediate FTL jump." As the Concordia broke orbit and accelerated away from the Thylesian vessel, Maya sat in the medical bay, watching as the medical team placed Elias's body in a stasis chamber for the journey home. Captain Vaughn joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We have the entire incident recorded," she said quietly. "Every second from multiple angles. They won't get away with this." Maya looked up, tears streaming down her face. "They took my translator. They killed Elias. And they think there will be no consequences because we're young and few." "They're wrong," Captain Vaughn replied, her eyes hard with determination. "Earth will not stand for this." The journey back to Earth was somber. The crew mourned Elias while preparing their testimonies and evidence. Maya spent the time analyzing what little data she had managed to save from her translator, trying to understand why the Thylesians had been so determined to acquire it. When they arrived, the news of Elias Reed's murder had already spread across Earth and its colonies. People gathered in cities around the world, watching the security footage that showed his execution. The footage revealed not just the murder, but the theft of Maya's translator, technology that rightfully belonged to humanity. In Washington, D.C., the Earth United Government convened an emergency session. Ambassador Liu presented her report to a chamber filled with grim-faced officials. The Thylesians claimed jurisdiction under their own laws and refuse to acknowledge any wrongdoing, she explained. They insist Dr. Reed was interfering with their rightful authority. And what of the Galactic Assembly? President Elena Reyes asked. Surely they won't stand for the murder of a diplomat during peaceful negotiations. The Assembly's response was disappointing. Ambassador Liu admitted, the elder species view us as newcomers with no real standing. They've dismissed our complaint, citing their reluctance to interfere in what they call Thalessian internal matters. Internal matters. Admiral David Harper exclaimed. This happened on our ship, to our scientist, during a diplomatic mission that the Thalessians themselves agreed to. They don't care, Liu replied. To species that have existed for thousands or even millions of years, one human life is insignificant. President Reyes stood, her face resolute. Then we need to show them that humanity is not to be dismissed. For the first time since joining the galactic community, we face a stark truth. In the eyes of older species, human lives are expendable. She looked around the room at the assembled leaders. We must prove them wrong. Admiral Harper stepped forward. Madam President, a direct military response would be suicidal. The Thalessian Dominion has thousands of warships. We have barely established a defense fleet. What do you propose then, Admiral? The President asked. Operation Silent Echo, he replied, activating a holographic display. They took something from us. We take something from them. As the plan unfolded before them, the chamber grew silent. It was bold, unprecedented, and dangerous, but it offered a way forward that might just work. They took one human life. President Reyes said finally. Now they will learn what that means. The silent vengeance. 3 months after Dr. Elias Reed's murder, the Thalessian Dominion celebrated their triumph. High Emissary Krultav had been promoted to Sovereign Overseer, a position created specifically to monitor human activities. Earth had withdrawn its diplomats from the Galactic Assembly and recalled its ships to the Sol system. The primitives have accepted their place, Krultav announced to the Dominion Council. As expected, they lacked the courage to challenge their betters. In the council chamber on Thelus Prime, the ruling elite nodded in agreement. The stolen translator technology had already been integrated into their systems, enhancing their ability to communicate with and control lesser species. And what of the human protests? Asked Councillor Vexilla. Insignificant, Krultav replied dismissively. They filed complaints with the Galactic Assembly, but were ignored, as we predicted. They have no recourse. Unknown to the Thalessians, Operation Silent Echo was already underway. On Earth, in a subterranean facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Harper stood before a vast holographic display showing the entirety of Thalessian space. Beside him, Dr. Maya Chen monitored a complex array of data streams. Phase 1 complete, she reported. Infiltration units are in position across 17 key Thalessian worlds. Harper nodded. And the nanites? Deployed and dormant, awaiting activation, Maya confirmed. Her eyes were rimmed with dark circles, evidence of months spent working without adequate rest. Since Elias's death, she had devoted herself entirely to Operation Silent Echo. The plan was unlike anything humanity had attempted before. Instead of military might, they would use the very technology the Thalessians had coveted, but in ways the aliens could never have anticipated. Begin Phase 2, Harper ordered. Maya entered a series of commands. Across Thalessian space, microscopic nanites activated simultaneously. These weren't weapons in the traditional sense. They were designed to infiltrate, not destroy. Disrupt, not kill. On Thelus Prime, in the heart of the capital city, the central communication hub experienced an unexpected system failure. Technicians worked frantically to restore service, unaware that the nanites had already spread throughout their network. Strange, the lead technician muttered, examining the diagnostic readout. The system says everything is functioning normally, but clearly it isn't. Similar anomalies began occurring across the Dominion. On the agricultural world of Zhol, automated harvesting systems suddenly changed their collection parameters, gathering crops before they were ripe. On the military training moon of Kreftel, simulation programs subtly altered their combat scenarios, teaching tactics that would fail in real engagements. None of these failures were catastrophic individually. There were no explosions, no casualties, no obvious attacks. But collectively, they began to create significant problems for the Dominion. 2 weeks into Phase 2, Sovereign Overseer Krultav called an emergency council meeting. "These systems' failures cannot be coincidental," he insisted. "We are under attack." "By whom?" asked Councillor Vexala. "We've detected no enemy ships, no weapons signatures." "The humans," Krultav said darkly. "They've been too quiet since we acquired their translator technology." The council members exchanged skeptical glances. "The humans, they have no significant military presence. They've withdrawn from galactic affairs entirely. Increase security at all Dominion facilities," Krultav ordered, "and prepare a fleet to enter human space. Perhaps a show of force will reveal their involvement." As the Thalassian fleet assembled, Operation Silent Echo entered Phase 3. In the Earth Command Center, Admiral Harper received real-time data from stealth observation platforms positioned throughout Thalassian space. "Their fleet is mobilizing," he informed Maya. "Exactly as we predicted." Maya nodded, her expression grim. Initiating Phase 3 protocols. Across the Thalassian Dominion, the effects intensified. Banking systems began reporting discrepancies in their records. Power distribution networks experienced rolling blackouts. Automated defense systems went offline for scheduled maintenance that no one had authorized. Still, not a single life was lost. No buildings collapsed. No ships exploded. The nanites followed their programming perfectly. Disrupt, but do not destroy. Inconvenience, but do not harm. As the Thalassian battle fleet prepared to depart for human space, a final command was transmitted from Earth. The nanites in the fleet's navigation systems activated. When the ships entered FTL, instead of arriving at Earth, they emerged in empty space, thousands of light years from their intended destination. Krultav's flagship, the Indomitable Will, found itself alone in an uncharted region. The communication systems functioned perfectly, but there was no one to communicate with. The entire fleet had been scattered across the galaxy. "Impossible," Krultav hissed as his officers struggled to determine their location. How could primitives have done this? A holographic message suddenly appeared on the bridge. Admiral Harper's image stood before them, his expression calm and determined. "Sovereign Overseer Krultav," Harper began, "you seem to have taken a wrong turn." "What is the meaning of this?" Krultav demanded. "How dare you interfere with Dominion vessels?" "Interfere?" Harper raised an eyebrow. "We've harmed no one. We've destroyed nothing. We've simply inconvenienced you, much like you inconvenienced us by murdering Dr. Elias Reed and stealing Dr. Chen's translator device." Krultav's eyes shifted to a deep red. "Is this your idea of revenge?" "Petty sabotage, not revenge." "Education," Harper corrected him. "You believe that because we value life, we are weak. You fail to understand that this is precisely why we are dangerous." The Admiral's image was replaced by a detailed map of the Thalassian Dominion, with thousands of points illuminated across their territory. "Each of these lights represents a location where our nanites have been deployed," Harper explained as his image reappeared. "Power plants, agricultural systems, communication networks, military installations, financial institutions. We could shut them all down permanently with a single command." "You wouldn't dare," Krultav growled. "The Galactic Assembly would." "Would what?" Harper interrupted. "Ignore us. Dismiss our concerns. They've already done that. And note that we haven't killed anyone. We haven't even destroyed property. By the Assembly's own protocols, we've committed no acts of aggression." Maya appeared beside Harper in the hologram. "You took one human life and thought there would be no consequences. You were wrong. The nanites in your systems can be deactivated remotely. Your fleet can be returned to Thalessian space. But first, there are conditions. The terms were non-negotiable. Return of Dr. Chen's translator. Full acknowledgement of Dr. Reed's murder. Reparations to his family. A formal apology before the Galactic Assembly. And the establishment of new protocols to protect the rights of younger species. This is blackmail, Kreltav snarled. This is diplomacy, Maya corrected. The kind that species like yours understand. You have 24 hours to consider our terms. It took only 12. The Dominion Council, faced with the evidence of humanity's capabilities and the growing economic crisis caused by the nanite disruptions, overruled Kreltav. They accepted all conditions. 3 weeks later, in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Assembly, representatives from over 300 species gathered to witness an unprecedented event. The Thalessian Dominion, one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy, formally apologized for the murder of a human scientist. Maya sat in the Earth delegation, watching as the new Thalessian representative, Kreltav having been removed from his position, returned her translator device and acknowledged the Dominion's wrongdoing. The Thalessian Dominion recognizes that our actions were unjust, the representative stated. We acknowledge that every sentient life, regardless of species or technological advancement, has value and deserves respect. As the ceremony concluded, several representatives from elder species approached Maya. Your response was unexpected, admitted the Droken ambassador, an ancient being from a species that had traveled the stars for millions of years. Most young races would have attempted military action and failed, or submitted and been forever diminished. We are not most races, Maya replied simply. Indeed, the ambassador agreed. Your species values life so highly that you found a way to achieve justice without taking any in return. This is worthy of consideration. The Galactic Assembly established the Reed Protocols that day, new guidelines that protected the rights of all species regardless of age or technological advancement. A memorial to Dr. Elias Reed was placed in the Assembly's Hall of Remembrance, the first human to be so honored. As Maya prepared to return to Earth, Admiral Harper joined her on the observation deck of their vessel. Elias would have liked this view, she said softly, looking out at the spectacular nebula visible through the viewport. He would have been proud of what we accomplished, Harper replied. We changed how the galaxy views humanity without becoming what they expected us to be. Maya nodded, clutching the translator device that had cost her friend his life. They took one human life and thought we were powerless. Instead, we showed them a new kind of strength. In the vastness of space, the message spread from world to world, system to system. Humanity valued life above all else, but that didn't make them weak. It made them formidable in ways the older species were only beginning to understand. They had taken one human life, and Earth had made them pay the ultimate price, the price of change.